Clan of the Cave Mom is a nice idea, but incredibly boring. If there's one way to say you haven't really fleshed out a story properly, it's to just repeat the action, but in a different time period. This is the 13th episode of the 35th season of The Simpsons. It's directed by Rob Oliver, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I talk about what happens, and it is just so bad. Some of it's okay, but we constantly cut back to these caveman scenes. And I get it. It's primitive. I get it. These are human behaviours that humans have had for centuries. You don't need to keep showing us these exact same moments, but many, many years ago. There is absolutely no point. Once, it was quirky. Twice, a bit irritating. But we must have cut back about 10 times. I didn't count. But it was a lot, and it was completely unnecessary and served no purpose other than to pad out time. We got the message the first time. 2-3 times, maybe at a push, but after that you're insulting the audience by suggesting they haven't quite got the message that this behaviour is human behaviour and it's how things have always been. Marge is insulted because Luann tells Bart that he's not invited to this concert, for which Milhouse has tickets. Milhouse does invite Bart. Marge then says Bart can't go because there's bad language in the songs, and then Bart tries to persuade Luann to persuade Marge to let him go, and Luann says to Bart that he's a bad friend and beyond hope. You don't say that to a child, and Bart was clearly devastated. On the one hand, I do feel like if a child is a bad friend, they should be made aware of their actions, but to say beyond hope, that's very rarely the case. A child as young as Bart, at any rate. And Marge realises that the only thing she can do is fight back. And we have an argument between Marge and Luann, and honestly, I quite liked that scene. I thought that scene played out quite well. I loved seeing the photos in the Van Houten's house. I thought that was pretty cool. And Homer eventually gets tickets, front row tickets, for Bart and his friends, basically to rub it in Luann's face that Bart doesn't need Milhouse and Milhouse's tickets because Bart has front row seats and all of these friends. I dread to think how much all of those tickets cost. And they go to the concert, and this just was so unnecessary. This just gave them an excuse to use more of the cave animation, which I will say, the cave animation the first time I saw it was fine. It's the Simpsons family, but represented, I guess, as stereotypical cave people. And it looked fine. The second time I thought, this is getting annoying. And it was just constant. But it's just repeating the same actions, which is what they're trying to do. They're trying to show that the way Marge is responding, these primal instincts, this is human nature. And it's a natural response. She's in fight or flight. She's trying to protect her cub, her Bart. But we get it. We're not stupid. You don't need to show it many, many times. There was only one bit from any of those cave scenes that I liked. And it wasn't even necessarily referencing Marge. It was when Homer landed on top of a spike and, well, his guts kind of went everywhere and he basically burst open, kind of. And I like that because it was gory and it worked very well. But other than that, it just served no purpose because the message had already been delivered, the message had already been received. Kind of like me repeating this multiple times. Can you tell I'm really annoyed? It's very lazy. They've basically written half a story and padded it out with the same action many, many years ago. Completely unnecessary. And then Marge breaks in, and this was what I was trying to say before I started to get annoyed again. Marge can't use the printed out ticket. She has to use the app, which I'm pretty sure is not a thing, as long as the printout's got the scan code on it, the barcode. But anyway, she can't get in because she doesn't have the app, so she breaks in and climbs over the fence and throws the children in. And it's completely unnecessary, it's completely unrealistic, and I don't buy it. But they only did this so they could then show the cave mother protecting her cubs. And it was just lazy. It's so lazy. And the final scene was sweet. I did like it. The last couple of seconds at the very end, they've broken in, they've gotten away with it. Let's not show consequences to our actions. And Luann and Milhouse are up at the high seats, and Marge goes up to them and hands them front row tickets, which begs the question, did they have extra tickets, or is Marge giving them somebody else's tickets, one of the people Bart's brought along? Where did these extra tickets come from? Unless she's giving Milhouse her ticket, maybe. I guess she was holding a few tickets in her hand. I'm overthinking it, but I just think this is a very lazy, poorly thought out narrative. I think somebody thought, let's make the Simpsons a cave family, and let's use it too much. And then we'll build a story around it, but we won't bother thinking about it because we'll hope people will just enjoy the cave scenes, when in actual fact, the cave scenes are ridiculously irritating. Maybe I'm alone with that. Maybe other people really enjoyed them. As I said, the first time I saw them, the opening scene, fine, I didn't mind them. But after the second time, I realised that this was going to be a very lazy episode. Nice message about human behaviour never really changing, always being the same. A parent will do anything to protect their children. I get it, it's a nice message. But unfortunately, it's an utterly terrible episode.